Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion at College Bar and Grill. Located across the street from the iconic A Mountain and Sun Devil Stadium and a quick walk from Wells Fargo Arena, College Bar and Grill is your home for the best local craft beer, delicious creative cocktails, tasty food, and Tempe's best atmosphere for Arizona State athletics. College Bar and Grill. Pre-game like a pro, post-game like a champion. Online at ilovecollege.co.
All right, hockey fans in the Desert Southwest. It's been a while, but we're back with the College Hockey Southwest Weekly. I've got my long-distance double, Paul Hornstein, with me. Paul, welcome back in.
Thank you, Scott. Hope you enjoyed the NCAA tournament and your Bulldogs playing the role of vampire and just never dying. And I said that for 3 weeks, and I got laughed at until the last game ended. So,
well, I'm going to take you back to the last week of December when they came to Arizona for the Desert Hockey Classic. You and I both had a chance to see those guys the whole weekend. They played without some guys. Mikey Anderson wasn't there. They had a couple other guys that weren't there, but they just looked like a team of destiny, right? They didn't even have their head coach, and they looked like a team that was just going to be there in the end. And lo and behold, they were there in the end.
This is what, as the season wore on, when we saw them at the Desert Classic, there was nothing that made me say, "Wow, this team is going to be, this team is destined to win another national championship." They were just a good, solid team, and remember, they lost.
Yeah,
they got beat by Clarkson. So
yes,
it's not like we sat there and said, wow, this team dominated this tournament and walked away with an easy title. They didn't.
No.
They just, and then as you watched them as the conference season went on, and they just kind of did their thing game after game after game. And you saw the team just improve as the season went on, as it got closer and closer to tournament time. And I just started watching them, and I'm saying to myself, this team's going to win again.
Yeah.
When we did our tournament preview, I picked them to win. Not that took a genius. It just, they gave you that vibe. And by the time and I hate to compare things to, but you have to compare it to things, when I watched the Islanders in the 80s as I was growing up, the first couple of years they won the Cup, it was kind of a heart in your throat kind of deal. But as they went on to Cup 3 and 4 and even got to their 5th straight final when they lost to Gretzky and the Oilers, for the most part at that time, it was just in an extra. You just knew that somehow, some way, at the end of the game, they were going to have one more goal than you, even if it didn't look like they were going to. And they did. And that's what this Duluth team reminded me of as the season wore on. As they got into the NCHC tournament, as they got into the NCAA tournament, we were sitting there and watching them play that first game against Bowling Green in Allentown at the regional, and somebody in front of me was talking about how Bowling Green this, Bowling Green that, and I made a comment just as I watched Duluth enter the zone, and the puck bounced off the boards, and the Bowling Green player missed the play. And I said, here's the game right now, about 4 seconds before the puck went into the net, and Duluth wins. And they beat a good Quinnipiac team, and they just kind of wore people down. And it just, they just never looked like they were going to go away. And in the end, they just didn't, because as I said to you and I said to others, they're playing the role of vampire. Not only do you have to kill them once, you have to kill them a second time to make sure. That's exactly how they played, and that's why they won another national championship.
Well, it doesn't hurt when you got a solid goaltender like Hunter Shepard back there, who does what he's supposed to do, and you have a leader like Parker Mackay, who is really an unsung leader. I mean, he's there, and he's a leader. But boy, when you need him, he makes a big play. Every single game, he makes a big play. So congratulations to the Bulldogs. They're NCAA champions.
And I don't know, did we get a chance, as long as we're talking about goaltenders, did we get a chance to talk about Joey Decord? Because I don't remember from the last show whether we did or not.
I don't know if we did, but we can always talk about Joey. He's always worth the mention.
Yeah, I got a chance. I'm sure you've seen at least a replay of those games, and people were asking me what I thought. I thought Joey played well. It was great to see that pitchfork on his mask in an NHL game, and I knew that kind of had a feeling that was going to happen because there was no way to get his equipment changed that quickly, and with only 1 week left in the season. I thought they left him hanging out to dry on most of those goals. And you've heard nothing but positives from the reviews of that game. So I don't think we can ever acknowledge the first Sun Devil enough, the first Sun Devil to play in the NHL. I don't think we can acknowledge that enough. And, I just wanted to make sure we got that in because I don't remember when we got it in the last time or not. So,
when he was done with that week in the NHL, he came back to school, which I give him big props for wanting to finish school. And him and I sat down in Studio 3 at Oceanside Ice Arena and had a chance to visit. And, we had a really good visit about everything, kind of just revisiting everything. We put it up as our first M Drive, What Drives You feature, which was a lot of fun to do. But it was funny because they had the media set up for a scrum basically outside, and while his teammates were on the ice, and out came Steen Pashnik in the goalie pads, and it looked a little funny as he jumped on the ice, and we were all going like, who's going to be the next goalie to replace you, Joey? And out comes Steen, which we all know is a big joke. But let's start off right there when we start talking about recruits, and that really what we're capitalizing the end of the year. Kudos to Joey for also making the second team All-American for the West region, or West, I guess, right?
Regional, West region, whatever they do it.
Yeah, so that's a big honor too, because there's only 12 guys on that lineup,
right,
from the West and 12 from the East. So that's saying something when you got 60 teams. So congratulations to Joey on that. Now we begin the building process, or the rebuilding process. You're going to lose some seniors. You're going to definitely lose Holman and Croston. You're going to miss them for sure. So somebody's going to have to step up. You're going to miss a defenseman in Stridsberg who, and let me say it's Swedish too, Stridsberg. So we'll get it both ways.
Yeah.
You're going to miss him as well. And then you're going to miss the other two guys in practice, I think, in Jack Rowe and the amount of effort he put in. And who am I missing? I'm missing one more senior here that.
Croston, Holman,
Jack Rowe, Stridsberg. Oh, Gage Mackey. No, not Gage.
Mackey.
Gage is a redshirt freshman.
Yeah,
we're good there. Who am I missing? I'm missing one.
It'll come to us in a second.
Yeah,
I feel bad,
anyway,
but it'll come to us in a second.
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to have guys that are going to have to fill those roles, right? And the recruiting class that's coming in is definitely forward heavy, right? I mean, you've got a lot of guys that are going to be ready to contribute, but how much can they contribute? You're bringing in a kid from the NAHL that scored 60 goals, 100 and some points. Great name, Genuine, Logan Genuine, right?
Well, see, here's the thing, Scott. We're sitting here, and by the way, I looked it up, so I don't want to make it seem like
So who is it? Who am I
Jake
missing?
Clifford.
Jake Clifford. How could I forget Jake Clifford? All right.
Okay, so here's kind of where the neophytism, at least on my end, comes in. I have not yet had a chance to really get a feel in these last couple of years for how these guys will translate at the NCAA level. Okay, so I don't want to make it sound like I am this savant who has these great feels for how this is going to work and how these guys. All I can kind of do is take the information that I have and kind of take a semi-educated guess on how this is going to work out in terms of these guys coming in. So the first guy you talked about is Genuine, and he had all those goals. Now, 60 goals is not a fluke.
No.
Okay.
At any level.
60 goals is not a fluke. I preface it by saying this is the first time he has scored at that rate, but it's still not a fluke because after the first, shall we say, 20 or 25 goals, teams are going to change how they play defense against your team.
Absolutely.
So there's obviously something there. Now, he was a little bit older in terms of the age level that he was playing with, but 60 goals is still 60 goals. There
Absolutely.
is something happened between the last year and this past year. He figured something out. He worked on something, but it's still not a fluke because you're not getting that first 20 and they're ignoring you still. At some point, they're changing their defenses to say, hey, we have to stop this guy. So you have to assume that he figured something out and he improved something in his game to make him go, or maybe it was just health, who knows, where he went from out of nowhere to scoring 60. It's just only so many of them can be a fluke.
Yeah, and let me tell you a couple things. First of all, Johnny Walker used to be a defenseman, right?
Right.
And he's a scoring touch now, and he scored,
right.
As many as he scored this season. So that can be done if you're a natural goal scorer. The other thing that I noticed with Genuine was he hits the net an awful lot. And you know what? When you hit the net, good things happen. And I also noticed on some of the clips that I saw of him that he moves the puck well. He moves the puck well and he gets open. And that's what goal scorers do, right? Referencing your old Islanders. How many did Mike Bossy score because he was in the right spot?
In the right spot, yeah.
Yeah, and then people found him. And when you're in the right spot and somebody finds you and you can hit the net with your shot, guess what's going to happen? You're going to score a bunch of those, right?
Right, and and maybe he's a late bloomer in terms of size. He's listed at 6'2", 195. I don't know what he was going into last season. Maybe he grew an inch or two and put on 15 or 20 pounds of muscle going into the season, and that could have made a difference too. So he clearly has figured something out, or somebody figured something out in order to get him to the 60 goal mark. Because like I said, 60, I don't care what you're doing, is not a fluke.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, they're top heavy in forwards. They also bring in a kid in their first Minnesotan. I don't know if that's wholly true or not, because we both know Demetrius Komentzis spent a lot of time in Minnesota. Yeah, he's a Scottsdale kid. Yeah, he was raised here, but where did he hone his hockey skills? He honed them in Minnesota. So we'll say that he's not a Minnesota native, but who are they bringing in that is truly a Minnesota native?
I believe you're talking about Jax Murray.
Yes, sir.
He's a little bit on he looks, just by the numbers, at 5'9", 175. That looks to me to be like a square or a rectangle, and somebody that's a little short but really, going to be bulky and kind of a tough guy to move off the puck.
You know who's not quite that short but has the same style? Dominic Garcia.
I'm a Garcia fanboy, so
exactly. So I think he's going to be a mold of Dominic. I really do.
So, that's the first thing you really notice about him. He averaged about 1 goal every 3 games. So, he's got a certain physicality, it looks like, to him. And so hopefully that will translate up to the next level. The other thing that kind of stood out to me, and you see in a lot of this, is they got 3 kids to play, to sign from the same junior team, the Dubuque Fighting Saints.
Right.
They got William Kinnerum. I'm not sure, obviously, if that's how you pronounce it, but we'll find out eventually. He's 6'4", 2 1/4", so that's a pretty big boy there. They got Jacob Simic. Once again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing these correctly or not. He's one of the 2 defensemen that they brought in. And James Sanchez at 6'2", 200, another forward.
That one's known as King James, if you notice his Twitter handle.
I try not to notice guys' Twitter handles because I kind of try to stay out of that. But that's not that unusual anymore. where guys decide as younger players that they want to keep playing together, and they try to find a place where they can all play. There's an example of it on the Sun Devils right now, known as Steen and Brinson. Brinson had originally committed to another school. When ASU started to recruit his brother, they said, "Hey, wait a second, you want to come too?" And they said, "Sure." And that's, a short version of how they both ended up at ASU, because they wanted to play together. So it's not the first time that it's happened for ASU in 4 years. And like I said, it's happening more and more, or I shouldn't say more and more, but not unusual to have that happen for guys to want to go play somewhere together.
No, absolutely not. And like I said, that togetherness really helps gel as well. So when you bring these guys in, that's going to be the thing to me, is when these guys get on campus in July and they start going through captain's practices, that's when I'm going to get down there. That's, if you remember correctly, that's what I said last year. I watched captain's practices in July and August to see how those guys were doing without coaches. And I could tell you back then that this team was going to be special. I had hoped that they would go further. I think two things that they're going to have to look at for at least another year, maybe two, is the fact that they're still not in a conference, right? So you're going to have that delay at the end of the year. There's no other way around it. You can only play to a certain point, and then you're going to have to wait. So hopefully they learn something. If you get back to an NCAA tournament, hopefully you learn something on this venture. And then, of course, the other thing is the fact that you're going to be traveling all over the place. You're going to be not within a conference. You're going to be going here, going there. Teams are coming in. I'm looking forward to seeing the schedule when it comes out, because we already know Denver's making a trip down here, which is going to be a lot of fun, especially for me personally, because I know some people on the Denver squad. I'm looking forward to seeing David Carl and picking his brain a little bit. So it's going to be a lot of fun when the whole roster is announced. But you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to win a heck of a lot of games, and you're going to have to probably sit out and wait for a 20 to 30-day period before you play your first tournament game.
Yeah, and like you said, there'll be enough guys left if it gets to that point where they'll probably be have a better handle on that kind of break. So every season so far has been a learning process. This isn't it. This year won't be any different. The thing about college rosters is they change all the time, so you're always looking for that blend. The other guy that we haven't mentioned yet is another defenseman by the name of Jack Judson, another guy that ASU's gotten out of the BCHL.
Yeah. He's a stud too, from what I hear.
Well, like I said, I can't go from personal experience because I haven't seen any of these guys play. You can only go based on what is told to you and what you see. But he is the youngest recruit according to the website that they brought in. So I'm sure they'll be very happy to get him in the weight room and get him going. There was a couple of other things about this recruiting class. As usual, the coach is bringing in a lot of guys that wore letters on their sweater. It's going
to happen.
He can't be the only guy that thinks this way, but obviously because we follow this more closely than others, it's not something he hasn't done for all this time since they've been a Division I program, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And there's something to having guys wear letters, picking guys that wore letters in their junior and high school teams in order to build your program. You certainly can understand it, especially with the unique circumstances that this team plays with. So you want to have guys that are leaders. You want to have guys that can do it on their own and don't have to wait for the coach to say it. So that's another staple of their recruiting.
So go ahead, finish your thought.
And the other thing that is kind of, at least it looks unusual to me, a couple of these guys have played in the NCAA before. They played 1 or 2 years before deciding to go the junior route and come back into the NCAA. Obviously we don't know necessarily the circumstances of what was behind those decisions, but coach also bringing in some more experience, even if it's a few years away, in order to help this team advance to the next level, or at least maintain the level that they were at this year, because obviously they had a young team last year, so the experience is not going to hurt.
No, and let me throw just a couple of caveats into those guys that tried the NCAA and then went to juniors, now are coming back. I think that might be hungriness, right? They had a taste. They maybe weren't at the level they needed to be at, so now they decided to come back, and I think they're hoping that they find a better hunger. Maybe they find a better fit, whatever it might be. I think that's probably the key in that area of it. The other thing that was noticeably missing on this recruiting class was a goaltender. We've got Evan DeBrouwer right now. That's the goaltender on the roster.
And Steen Pashnik, obviously.
Yeah, and Steen throwing the pads on here and there, but all kinds of scuttlebutt going on about a BU goaltender that may or may not be getting into ASU as a grad transfer. He would be a big, big asset if he comes in. But let me say right now, I don't know if he's going to beat out Evan DeBrouwer. Okay,
listen, having not even had a chance to see DeBrouwer play, I'll bow to your obvious far more exposure to him than the 8 minutes that we got in that one game during the season. That's kind of an odd situation too, because here's a kid that said he was coming.
Yeah.
And there's no paperwork on this, so no one's talking about it.
No.
So it's a very odd situation.
Well, here's the situation. The kid wants to come and says he's coming, but there's a thing called admissions and clearinghouse that you must get through. And you can't get there, especially as a grad transfer, if all things don't match up. And that's why you've heard nothing about it. So, but let's go back to Evan DeBrouwer. I've seen him every week in practice for the entire year. His demeanor, very calm, very collected. But here's the real kicker on it. He picked up a lot of things from Joey Decord. And I asked Joey that. I said, did you leave I said, did Coach Powers ask you if you were had any insight into whether Evan would be ready to take the reins? He goes, no, we didn't have that conversation. But I know that by being around Evan that I passed some things to him. And I know that Evan saw a lot, improved a lot, and I have a lot of confidence that Evan can carry the torch. So that's pretty big words coming from Joey. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, especially if you got just somebody else coming in that's a walk-on or whatever, he's going to have to carry. But I think Evan's ready for it. Evan didn't say a peep all year long. He didn't complain. He took a brunt of the practice shots. I can tell you that right now. He took a lot of practice shots. So if anybody's ready, without seeing the schedule, I don't know where they're going to come out. But if he comes out, gets a couple of wins under his belt early, I think they're going to have to be a team that scores more goals than they did this year to be successful. I don't think they can rely on Joey like Joey was, rely on Evan that same way. So expect the team to score more goals. I like Genuine. I like Walker. I like Demetrius. I like that combination. I've already started what I think is going to be a great line: Genuine, Johnny Walker, Maroon, and Gold.
Well, we don't have any idea who's going to play with who.
Come on. Let me have my fun for the summer, Paul.
Well, go ahead. I mean, the only thing, because these guys are listed as forwards. So,
right.
Yeah, okay, there's 12 of them, 13 of them, depending on the lineup. They can mix and match them. Yeah. There's definitely going to be some changes, obviously, because you lose players. And I think if I was there, as you will be, in the preseason practices, I think you're going to see on a daily basis a lot of different line combinations. I don't think I'm sure the coaches are playing around with it now. But obviously, once they hit the ice in the middle of September, right? Middle of September, beginning of September, whatever the heck it is. You're going to see a lot of experimenting because you're going to have to replace guys in roles, and you're going to want to see how they fit in, because obviously Dom Garcia and Steve Pashnik will kind of move up as those number one penalty killing forwards, but they can't kill 2 minutes of a penalty, so they're going to have to find some guys to step up and fill that role. You're also going to have that third and fourth line where there's going to be a lot of guys that graduated and went on, and those roles are just not filled right now. And so they have to look for those guys. They've got to find a way to get second line scoring.
Yes. Yeah.
The top three, Jordan Sandu, Johnny Walker, Tyler Bush coming back. We know who the candidates are for the second line, but somebody in that second line and even a third line, whatever those combinations are, those guys are going to have to step up. Especially with the question mark at goaltending. Now, I don't say question mark at goaltending as an insult. It's just you don't lose Joey.
There's no track record.
There's no track. You don't lose Joey Decord, who played 39 out of 40 games or whatever the heck it was, or actually 40 out of 40, and only
just
came out of the end.
Minutes.
Yeah, and so you don't know. I'm sure that, especially at the beginning of the season, his teammates will do the best they, will try to be even more focused on helping Evan DeBrouwer out in the defensive zone until he gets a chance to get comfortable. But they're still going to have to score goals to make that adjustment. So,
it's two things. You're going to have to score more goals, but you're also going to have to be very defensive minded if you're a defenseman. You can't be making defensive mistakes, especially in your own end, because that could lead to a lopsided game in a hurry.
Yeah. And you can't have those.
So, no, you can't. So as we wind things down here, it's going to be an exciting summer. A couple of things off the ice. I heard from a very, very reliable source that shovels are in fact going in the ground in September. Trust me, this source that I heard it from is the source. Okay. And he tells me that he knows that it's going in. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that until there's official announcement. I'm not going to break ground myself, but September, the arena gets started. I've been told on and off the record that the funding is not the issue for hockey, that the funding part that they've been waiting on is for the Wells Fargo renovations, that part of it. But I'm also told by this source of mine that that's taken care of and that they are ready to roll September on a new arena. So yay. Okay. I know what that look means that you're giving me. You're not going to believe it till you see it. I don't blame you. You're a New Yorker. You've seen and heard this before. I'm just telling you from what I know is September is when it starts. Okay, so there's the arena thing, right? Now, let's talk about conferences. We know the schedule is made. There'll be no conference, right? I really believe when that conference announcement is made, it's Hockey East. I am convinced of it because I think it makes too much sense for all the powers that be. Get that? All the powers that be?
I got
you. Okay. Because I think Hockey East is the best fit for them. I think they're wanted by Hockey East. I mean, you and I know what Jerry York's feelings are. I mean, he's pretty influential and he wants them badly. I think the base that you're a part of in New York and New England, Sun Devil faithful, Sun Devil alums, want that very badly. I think it makes sense travel-wise. And I got a feeling the Big Ten, the way things ended in Minnesota, I don't think the Big Ten wants ASU, even if ASU wanted to go in there. I think Minnesota would oppose it. I think Ohio State's not too happy about having to come out and almost get beat when they were the number one team in the country. I don't think Penn State may want them, but I don't think they really want them because they realize the severity of it. So let's take the Big Ten and throw that away, okay?
Even though theoretically and hypothetically it does make the most sense, but
yeah, throw it away.
So that's
Not
why
happening.
you have to throw it away, because it makes the most sense. Everybody talks about, well, they're waiting for Illinois. Yeah, but they've been waiting for Illinois for 3 years.
Yeah. Nope. I say throw the Big Ten out. I think the WCHA would be a downfall to the ASU program. I think they're too, and I hate to sound like a bigot here, but I think they're too good for that league. And then the NCHC, I mean, they're just way too stuck on themselves to take another team in. I mean, they're right now looking at Western Michigan and going like, do you really fit? Do you really fit with us? Because we're pretty big. So I think we can rule out NCHC, WCHA, and I don't think ASU wants to go into that group with Clarkson and those guys. So I think we can rule that out. You don't want to play Clarkson, Cornell, RIT over and over again, or you may not have a team left standing when that's over with.
Well, see, first of all, the ECAC and is kind of its own separate animal. They're already playing by two separate sets of rules because they have the Ivy League teams in there. So that's an issue in and of itself. And you want to talk about travel issues? Do you think traveling to Alaska would be a problem?
Never happening.
Okay.
Never happening.
Okay. The other two leagues, the WCHA and the NCHC, who knows? Honestly, we know that publicly it's come out that ASU attempted to get into the NCHC at one point, and I think they were trying to get in with Minnesota State, and both schools were told thanks but no thanks. Really, that narrows it down to really the two leagues, the WCHA and Hockey East. And
you still have Atlantic, but they're not going Atlantic.
No, they're not. First of all, that's we're not going to include that in the conversation. Just from a personal standpoint, or a hockey standpoint, Hockey East would make some sense. Phoenix to Boston is not exactly a tough flight.
No.
It's not like going to Syracuse and then busing to Buffalo or busing to Rochester and so forth and so on. Or, no disrespect, because I have a friend of mine that played at Northern Michigan, flying to wherever they have to fly to and then go up to the peninsula. And, so travel-wise, it makes a lot. It's easy travel. It's not like you're stuck with one flight a day that goes from Phoenix to Boston and vice versa.
Correct.
So when I hear people say that getting to Arizona is tough, I'm like,
no,
what?
No.
Do you people have any clue? But, that's a different story.
All right. So we've covered all that. I think we can put things to bed. I'm looking forward to visiting with Coach Powers through our annual State of the Sun Devils, which we'll get more information on what his feelings and thoughts are. I always wait until things have settled down, until after the recruits have been announced, we can talk about them.
I don't know if they ever settle down anymore.
Yeah, maybe not. But you know what? Here's the thing. As we end this, I got to get back and see, because I only have one team in the Desert Southwest still playing in playoff hockey, and that could end tonight if the Golden Knights lose in San Jose. So,
San Jose's Vegas has got at least two, or at least one in a review, because I've kind of got it here. I don't know if we can show this without getting in trouble, but you can see the. I'm trying to keep an eye on that as well as while we do this.
Okay, so I'm older than you. I need a bigger screen than that right now. So
I can't really see it either, but I can see.
I'm going back to 65 inches where I can see this thing. So, Paul Hornstein, thanks again for everything all season long. We're going to be in touch all summer. We'll be talking about all different kinds of things. And most important, I think we grew the game a little bit this year, and I think that's important.
So.
I look back at what's happened, and I think that hopefully we've inspired some people to follow this team more. I mean, that's my goal. The more people talk about it, as they say, a high tide rises all ships. So I think that's the goal. I think we're accomplishing that. I'll have some big news coming up this summer regarding College Hockey Southwest Weekly and its own entity, nice. Which you'll be a big part of. So we'll be talking NCAA college hockey on a separate modem, a little bit aside from our regular website. So a lot of good things coming, a lot of new things coming. Thanks again for all your help.
I'll even hear it,
Yeah, getting to the regional and all that good stuff for me. That was fantastic. I suffered through some ridiculous health problems, and
I hope you're feeling better.
And
you look better.
I got rear-ended 2 weeks ago, so it's just one battle after another. But we're looking forward to it. I'll keep you abreast on what's going on. Thanks again for spending some time with us tonight. And
not a problem.
I love forks up, right? I hear you.
All right.
Thanks,
we'll see
Paul.
you soon.
Hey, Michael here from M-Drive. My dad, a world-class scientist, actually made M-Drive for himself to stay active and continue enjoying life. And yes, M-Drive supports healthy testosterone, but it's so much more. M-Drive is the everyday supplement to fuel your drive with more energy and more strength. Listen, we'd love for you to try M-Drive too. Visit mdriveformen.com and we'll give you 20% off your first purchase. Just type in the code DRIVE at checkout. Refine your prime with M-Drive.